Welcome to Pixel Theater, everyone. My name is Nick Noel, and I am one of your co-hosts.
And I am Ron Goose Stratton, and I'm the other co-host.
And today on Pixel Theater, we're going to be talking about Need for Speed, a movie that exists.
In our world, you always go back. You just left him there. That's what I can't forgive.
That's my boy.
So there we go.
Well, I was just saying before we recorded, it's a racing car movie that inexplicably has a lot of connections to Top Gun, hence the name Goose. But we'll get into that later.
So what is Pixel Theater? Well, that's a kind of an existential question that I think we're still wrestling with. What does it mean to be a podcast? Can you be a podcast and not be about movies hosted by two white guys? Is it even possible? I would say the best ones are not that, and then the rest of them are. So here we go. But our particular podcast is about film adaptations of video games. And as I mentioned earlier, we're going to be talking about Need for Speed, which is a game that has no plot whatsoever. It's just you have a car and then you race it, and then they decided that should be a movie. And then we watched it, and now you have to hear about it. So,
yep.
Without further ado, we're going to go into our feature presentation. Okay, Ron. So this movie, directed by Scott Waugh? I don't know how.
I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah. And then written by George and John Gattens. I don't know who either or any of these people are.
No.
They've apparently been more successful in the film industry than I have, so I guess there's that.
They've had that going
so good for them. Currently sitting at a Rotten Tomatoes score of 22%, which annoyingly is higher than Assassin's Creed, which is at least a movie that you can watch and get invested in some respect.
It's interesting. I think we differ on this movie. While I also concur that it's not a good movie, but it's odd when you talk about video game adaptations, and we've covered this before. And I need to grade on a curve. Like there's this movie as a movie, and then there's this movie as a adaptation of its source material. And it's interesting because the game is, it's wafer thin. It's like adapting Tetris to a film. It's like, all right, well, you're going to take this principle and make it an hour and a half, 2 hours. This is 2 hours and 15, I think.
Somehow. Insanely.
Insane. But you take the core point of the game is you steal cars, you're into illicit street racing, and you get chased by the cops in every single mission that you're doing. I'm not too familiar with the franchise, but I love these type of games. Criterion made the Burnout series, and they've kind of taken this game under its wing every once in a while. Like, I don't know if they started by working on the first game or not, but the Burnout guys are heavily involved in this series, and I love the Burnout series. So it's like adapting that into a film too. It's hard to say because this movie comes out where a franchise like Fast and Furious is like one of the biggest series in the country. And when I watch it, it's actually a more grounded experience than those movies are. Like, I don't know why, but every once in a while I'll watch a Fast and Furious, and I think I would rate this better than like the last 4, despite them being completely mindless spectacle.
Them's fighting words for the internet, I guess.
Well,
I've never, to this day, and I'm very excited about it, I have never seen a Fast and the Furious movie.
Keep that track record going.
I don't know if
They're
I
not
ever
great. The first one's a real movie, in my opinion, and the rest are cartoons.
Sure.
And, if people get invested in the characters and like seeing them do stuff, but you've got to check your brain at the door. And that's where I was struggling with this movie. It was like the suspension of disbelief involved. And I don't know if we're going right into our review now or if we need to talk about the plot a little bit. We have
it is.
Yeah. you have these characters. I mean, right away, reality doesn't make sense. These guys hate each other, but here, restore this $1 million car for me, and I'm going to betray you and do this. Like right away, it doesn't work. Like I'm turned off by the blocking immediately
Mhm.
because it's a lot of Aaron Paul going, yeah, yeah, okay, and somebody's standing. Like the blocking's weird, and Rami Malek's there, which is just strange.
Rami
Who
Malek,
he
yeah, there's Kid Cudi is in this for
yeah, like
weirdly, like,
a bunch of really well-known guys now that's appearing randomly as like friend characters in this.
yeah.
Um, where was I going with that?
But
But
it is like, yeah, they're trying to establish these character dynamics, right? But
yeah,
they
right.
don't do a good job, and you don't understand why. Like, if then why are they doing this?
Yeah,
Like, if you hate this guy so much, why do you trust him to sell this car? It doesn't make any
yeah.
sense.
Oh, I struggled right away. Like, I don't know, maybe it's brain damage of watching these movies, but about 40 minutes in, I kind of accepted the world, but I really found these characters unlikable for a minute. And I had to kind of struggle with that because, like, okay, the game is about making cop cars crash and laughing like, haha. But these guys are really unlikable right off the bat. Like they're
Hmm.
racing through the street, they're causing car accidents. There was this one bit, I don't know if you remember, but it's after the friend dies, spoiler, and he serves his 2 years. It's like they were kind of racing around in this $3 million car that they have, and they kind of take this turn and they crash this SUV, and this woman's like, "Oh God!" And like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like they hurt like four people, and our characters are like, ah, "Yeah!" And I couldn't get behind that. Like my day job is editing horrific car accidents, so I think it was very triggering for me. I was just like, "Oh no, these are the people causing the shit I see at work. I don't like
Hmm.
any of them." Um, but then I kind of remembered, okay, that's what these games are about. So it comes to that struggle where I'm like, if I'm grading this as an adaptation of the video game it's based on, this did a very good job, but it doesn't make it an entertaining or a sensical movie. Part of me almost wondered, like, they should have made this a period piece because the stretches and disbelief needed. Like, I would have rather this be based in the 70s. You
Yeah.
can tell it idealizes Bullet and all
Hmm.
these and French Connection and these incredible car movies from the
Yeah,
70s.
before there
Because
was like all this interconnected communication, you know.
there's no way they would have gotten like Michael Keaton's broadcasting this illegal thing, like, "Hey, our guy's coming down the highway now," and it's every cop in the world would have been on these guys. Like
Hmm.
we would have no movie.
Kid
They
Cudi
would have
is
shot him 40 times.
Kid Cudi
Kid
is
Cudi's
flying
stealing
over
military
Detroit.
helicopters. Yeah,
Like, he's flying over Detroit in a plane. Like, you can't do that post 9/11. Like, there's no way.
no,
Like,
no,
you
no,
couldn't
no.
do that even like before then. But we would
Yeah,
give it like, okay, but how are they going to track it? But now it's just
but
like, you can't just fly around. People are going to notice. You're going to get shot
here's where we
down.
get to where the movie works for me though, because and I think we talked about it on our cap of the year, but I watched them film all that Detroit stuff from my
Hmm.
balcony. Like I literally was just, this if the camera panned up at any point, it'd be me in my robe just going, ooh. Um, they really did
There's a
that. I
lot of
mean, those
movies that are just
helicopters
panning up to you in a robe, though. I mean,
pretty
they're
much
secret
there's a
movies,
lot.
but they're there.
Yeah, they're out there. I say Batman v Superman. Um, but I watched these helicopters come down. Like they really shot. It's kind of cheesy how the movie did it. They put the helicopters. They filmed the movie in the movie, and they just CG'd out the film equipment. But like they just put this like orb over. It looked really weird. I don't know if you noticed it in the movie, but the thing that covered up
I
the
definitely
camera
didn't.
equipment, it was odd. But
Okay.
watching them shoot it, I was like, this is really impressive, and that translated to the movie. There's no CG in this,
Hmm.
as far as like standing out. Fast and the Furious, like there's tanks exploding, the rocks like bench pressing one. It's all CG, and it's very evident. I really respected that every effect in this, every gag was a practical element.
Yeah.
So the movie nerd in me really
So
thought a lot of effort was put into this and
in,
appreciated that.
so I guess we can grade it, give it an A for technical achievement, where
A
like
for A for
it's
technical
yeah,
achievement, B for video game adaptation, and like a D for like
a movie you would
a
actually
film,
want to
a
watch.
movie that would need to do what it needed to do. Because such a suspense and you know reality is
Hmm.
required. They should have put it in the 70s and made it like base it all around these classic cars, and it would have really worked then
Yeah,
without the internet and
I
satellites.
I think if I cared more about racing movies in general, maybe I'd get on board. Like if I liked, watching car chases, but I always find car
Yeah.
chases to be the most boring parts of movies. Um, which is weird because they're supposed to be the most exciting, but I just
All right,
never
sure.
care. I think it's because it's like impossible to have it's very difficult to have plot development during that. Like there isn't anything. It's either you get away or you don't,
Yeah,
and like everything that happens in between is never. It's never part of the plot. Like you can blow up 1,000 cop cars, like what we found out here. You can, do all this property damage. You can,
yeah,
stop traffic and all this stuff, and it never matters. It's just, did you get away or not? That's the only part that
yeah.
matters in those car chases.
Consequences be damned.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I haven't owned a car in 15 years. I'm such a city kid, but
Hmm.
I fucking love movies about cars, and I love a good race scene. And I think what some people just kind of accept that there's no plot advancement. It's like going to a Van Damme movie in the 80s. Like you just want to see the fight scene with the sumo wrestler. And you're going there for these gags,
Yeah.
and that's what a good racing movie's
I
supposed to
guess
have.
I don't know. I think it's
But there's
maybe it's so hard to translate the technical skill of driving into visually.
yeah,
Like you can know intellectually is like you have to be planning so far ahead because you're going so fast about when you need to decelerate, when you need to turn, like all this stuff. But
sure,
it's all happening internally, and all based on like fast twitch muscle and all this stuff that you've like
sure.
developed over time. Whereas if you're watching Van Damme like beat up a guy, you're like, okay, yeah, like
Way to go,
I
Van Damme.
I can understand that that's difficult. I'm watching it be difficult, and then I can see him triumph physically over this other person. Whereas, like,
I
really, you're
just
just triumphing over physics.
it's odd because I really like I said the first half an hour of this movie, the characters were not endearing. They were unlikable for how they, hitting a poor homeless guy's cart and laughing about it.
Yeah.
Um, Whatever the hell Rami Malek's character is doing, getting naked in a building and not going right to prison is bizarre to me. Um, those guys notwithstanding, there was just a moment in the movie where I was like, "Gosh, like this feels like it's more interesting to me because it's not CG. Like
Hmm.
I could just tell they wrecked these cars and they did these like air stunts, and that just made me respect it more than I planned on. So that's like maybe I need to step back and look at it more as a whole picture. But this the technical aspects alone make or endear the movie to me more than I planned on it. I also thought,
Yeah.
you ever said imagine Loop Poop? What's her last? I don't want to.
Imogene Poots, the
Imogene
the
Poots.
one of the most
Such a
British
strange.
names ever.
Yes, I love her though, and she really like. I felt like her and Aaron Paul didn't have chemistry, but she's so good that she
Mhm.
made you think they did. You know what I mean? Like, because I really think she sold it. There's moments where they're hanging upside down that could have just been ludicrous. That
Hmm.
she just made really charming. Maybe it's just the Britishness, or that she's pretty. I don't know, but she elevated the material of the two of them beyond what was on the page
Yeah.
too.
It's so interesting how like I know Aaron Paul's a good actor, but
Yeah,
I just
he
didn't
is.
like maybe it's he just can't do steely intensity that well. Like
They
he
want him
just
to play
wants to
that
have I
character.
think he wants to have more fun than the character will let him, and so it feels like
The-
he's disinterested.
Everything in Breaking Bad really worked for me with him, but Westworld and this are the same. Like, you want me to do what? Okay, like I don't know what brooding means, like, and
Yeah.
it doesn't fit him. I
It's
guess I don't know.
yeah, like one of my favorite characters that he does is Todd on BoJack Horseman.
Oh,
And
sure,
Todd is
sure.
just this like bundle of like I don't know, like bumbling but also like super optimistic and enthusiastic about things. He's
Hmm.
like really trying to be a good person, but finds it difficult to achieve in life just because he can't figure himself out. And
Sure, sure.
that is like that's
That's
not
Aaron
who
Paul.
Aaron Paul is, but like the
Yeah,
ability to put like nuance and like um react to the horrible people around him in a more positive way, I think is maybe
I'd
more
say
in
like
line with what he
maybe that's
likes
not
to
who he
do.
is, but
I don't
that
know.
he seems more natural playing a character
Yeah.
like that to me.
Yeah.
Um,
Maybe that's it. It's just it seemed more natural for what he likes to do. I don't know.
I almost wonder
This
because
is
I
another
read something
confession
about. Oh, go ahead.
is I watched the first half of the first season of Breaking Bad and I couldn't get into it. It's the same reason I can't get into Mad Men. I just
Sure.
don't like bad people doing bad things. I just don't find it
Yeah, there's no one really
interesting.
likable in that whole series. He like put it this way, he's the guy you root for, and he's doing
Yeah.
despicable stuff too. You
But
know?
it's kind of a similar dynamic between him and Walter White and him and BoJack is just like he is the sidekick character that people more identify with because the other person is such an awful monster.
Right, right. Um,
But
forget
Need
where
for
I was going to go
Speed.
next. Yeah.
So
Oh,
brooding
so I read
intensity,
something
not
with
great.
Spielberg because Spielberg is who was he binged Breaking Bad and was like, oh, we got to get this kid in Need for Speed. And I don't know if that was the conversation or not, but at some point, I think they were considering him for the villain. And I almost
That
think like him
might have
and the
been
villain
better.
character. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like, I think if those two switched roles, that
It
guy would
must
have been
just
more
be
the
that
cool
Aaron
type.
Paul
Like,
was a bigger name at the time. Like,
yeah. Oh, that's
so
got
they've
to be
got to
what it
put
was.
him in the lead. Yeah.
2014 was right at the peak of like Breaking Bad's finale. It just,
Mm-hmm.
like he was a name to get. So, but I
Because
think
Dominic,
character wise,
yeah,
they should have flipped.
because Dominic Cooper is the bad guy, and he's the hero, if you want to call it, on Preacher. So we got two AMC people,
Right. Yeah.
and that is brooding intensity like nobody else in the world. Like that
Seriously.
guy is like restrained fury like throughout that
Mm-hmm.
entire uh endeavor, for the most part. And then also sometimes not restrained at all, like just
Yeah.
intense
Little
and
unhinged.
angry all the time. So
Yeah.
I think, yeah, that is really spot on that if they'd switched it, it probably would have been a much better movie because I think Aaron Paul can play a smarmy asshole better than he can play like a shut
I think,
down like
yeah, I think
brooding
he would have
person.
had that like cocky and untouchable
Yeah.
prick attitude really good. And I think it would have, those two would have played off each other like an
Like,
opposite way than this.
because I think part of the problem is I know I was supposed to root against Dominic Cooper,
Yeah.
and I wasn't rooting for him. I was just never really
Yeah.
like, based on his portrayal, I couldn't really latch on to. There was a disconnect between his portrayal and his actions. It was
It's
like I know
despicable.
he's yeah,
Yeah, it's despicable his actions, but I like that they like yeah, he was a dick move to tap the guy's car, but they have those cutaways where he's surprised, like, oh, I didn't expect him to fly through the
yeah.
air like Bugs Bunny and catch on fire, like so. It's despicable what he did, but I like that it was a human. It wasn't like I killed your friend. Like there was a
No,
oh no, that wasn't supposed to happen reaction. I thought they were going to go
it's
more in that direction. Like he didn't intend for that to be the outcome, but Aaron Paul still
yeah.
hates his guts.
But he was, I mean, he was a coward basically. Like he didn't want
Oh
to take
yeah,
responsibility,
yeah.
so he like left and then did all this stuff in the background where he got Aaron Paul blamed for it, and that's why Aaron Paul was in jail for 2 years.
Maybe I was staring at the movie doing that thing because I was really put off by the blocking, like I said at the beginning. But I totally missed the part. Was Dakota Johnson supposed to be that kid's sister that died?
I have no idea. I completely forgot Dakota Johnson was in this movie
She just kind of
until you
pops up a
just
couple
mentioned it.
times. Yeah, but she was like Aaron Paul's ex-girlfriend.
Would she have been better in the Imogen Poots? Like, should everybody have switched roles?
I don't know. I really liked Imogen in this, so it's hard to say. But Dakota Johnson's good. I like her.
Mm-hmm.
She would have been good. They might have had better chemistry because they play off each other nice on the bridge.
Yeah,
that's hard to say.
I don't know.
But yeah, they should have done musical chairs with everybody. put Rami Malek up in the helicopter.
I mean, really, Kid Cudi should have been the star of this, and then like build the movie around him. But because he's just charismatic no matter what.
He was really. It was so stupid. The idea of like, yeah, man, I stole this helicopter. The military.
What is going on?
But he says it. He does it in such a way you're like, oh, Kid Cudi, go ahead. Like I don't know. It worked somehow.
It doesn't like any of the parts with him one, you can absolutely tell, like, okay, Kid Cudi did not have time to be in this movie. That's why all of his scenes are not with
Oh, it's so
anybody
funny.
else.
Kid Cudi and Michael Keaton. It was so
Yeah,
apparent that they're going, haha, yeah, generic voice, and
yeah.
we'll just put Michael Keaton in later. But
And then, but besides that, it's also like, what is even happening? Like, how did he steal a military helicopter? What are you
I know
talking about? And then he's just in
every law with
prison.
aerospace was
Like,
broken.
yeah, it doesn't
This
make, and
movie.
it's just weird things like that I
Yeah.
find it difficult to like enjoy the movie.
No,
Um,
I'm with
you
you,
know,
but it's funny because I had it was like I was having a difficult time accepting those things so I could enjoy it. But it just clicked how many times I played Burnout and like especially the last couple Forza Horizon games.
hmm
Like the plot of the games themselves are ridiculous. Like I love to death Forza Horizon 4, but you're literally going through like this like English countryside in like a Lamborghini, and a woman will get on the radio and go, "Right, Terry thinks your skills are pretty good. He's giving you a mansion on the outskirts of town. Go on over there." And you drive up. It's like, all right, here's a 10-car garage. You can have 6 of these. Which one? Here, take the Bugatti. And the guy will get on like, hey, we're going to watch him race. So and so just gave him a mansion. And you just accept that, okay, that's this world in this game. And when I was
Sure.
watching the movie, I was like, this is dumb. Wait, oh shit. They translated that to a movie. Do we like that? I got a grade on a curve because I think it accomplished what it set out to do. It's not that point of like, what the hell do we do with Mario? Let's make him a dinosaur, which again we've talked about. We enjoyed that take on it, but I think this really did know its audience and know its property and translated it to the screen.
You know, I
So
I think you're right that if in the insane world that we were living in and continue to live in, where you're like, let's make a Need for Speed movie. So if you take
yeah,
that as a given, then this is what that movie is. Like, you can't have done it. Like, there's some refining, but if you take it as a
there's
given
nothing.
that this is
Yeah,
a movie that's gonna exist, this is what that movie looks like.
if you have good character development and intriguing story arcs and
hmm
captivating, like it won't be a Need for Speed movie anymore. You'd have a real movie. So
Yeah.
that's the pickle you find yourself in, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's because, like, really, you kind of want to compare this to Gone in 60 Seconds, I think.
Yeah,
Um, even though there's not, I don't think there's a real racing element. It's been so long since I've seen Gone in 60 Seconds, but I don't think there's like a racing element. It's always just stealing cars.
yeah, yeah.
So it is like a mashup of that and Fast and the Furious, basically. And, I think you're right. Like, if that's the movie you're making, then they did a good job making that movie.
Yeah, and like if I were to give my review right now and say, what are we going with? Uh, you know, supercars, I guess, Bugattis.
Uh,
Well, oh, what was the?
like, it's so hard that like nothing stood out as a thing in this movie. Like, yeah, this is kind of the first time uh that I can think of. So yeah, let's just say um Mustangs. Out of
Yeah,
$2
all right.
million
So
Mustangs, how many would you give it out of
if
10?
I were to not be impressed by the technical aspects and grade it just as a movie, I'd give it 4.
Yeah.
But because I think it accomplished what it set out to do, and I was impressed by the technical aspects of it, like I'm almost a 7. Like
Okay.
there's 6 Mustangs, the 7th one doesn't have an engine in it, if I
Sure.
can grade it that way.
um
So
so I'm not impressed by the technical parts because I never care about any of that shit. So I'm gonna give it a 4. There we go. This is the
that's
first time
solid.
we've disagreed in a while. This feels
I mean,
nice.
we're kind of on the same page, but yeah, I think I was I don't want to say impressed, but I wasn't mad at the movie once it was over. I was like, okay. Mm, mm. And yeah, I think it's been a while since we've had a differing on that. Um,
I sometimes wonder, I'd need to go back and look at these, but I wonder if I grade movies higher if I am mad at them than if I just have no reaction whatsoever. Because like to this, it's just like this just felt like nothing. It felt like a big old nothing to me. Whereas
you know what that
like
was for me?
I
I'd have to go back
enjoyed
and
what like there it's a worse movie, but I enjoyed Double Dragon more than this.
oh
Does that
wow,
make sense?
that
Like
does make sense.
I
Well,
probably didn't I
here's
probably didn't rate it higher, but
here's the scale with that though, because like I would say like okay, we have our Double Dragons and our what's another one that's in legal that Mortal Kombat 2,
Mortal
those
Kombat
kinds
2,
of
yeah.
movies. um,
Any what is that? What's Dead Rising? No. Alone in the Dark?
Dead,
No, that's
Dead
even
or
slightly
Alive?
better. I don't know.
Have you-
Dead Alive. No.
That
Why can't see like it's just Blood Rain? Blood Rain's in that category. Blood
Blood
Rain's
Rain's in
definitely
there.
in that
Yeah, yeah,
category. Yeah.
yeah. Like they're so bad. You're like, huh, I couldn't believe how bad that was. Nom 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 popcorn.
Yeah.
But then there's movies like Max Payne. I have to go back and listen to what I said about it, but maybe I'm contradicting myself, but I'm more mad at that movie for just being a flat line.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
like an average experience where I'm just like, I'm bored with your car chase. I'm bored with your gunfighting. I'm bored. This one, I was like, oh, I don't like these characters at all. Oh my God, they really blew up that car. Yay. I was entertained, like
It is
that worked for me.
it is kind of telling how maybe we just grade movies in general on this way, but like when we're looking at these movies, just like, these people were competent at their jobs. Good job. Like
Pulled it
when
off.
we look at like some of the other ones, we're like, nobody knows what they're doing at all or are actively putting people in danger.
Well, wasn't that one of the positive points I grasped onto with Alone in the Dark was that some of it was in focus? Like going from House of the Dead to that, I was like, oh, okay.
Thank you. House of the Dead. That's what I forgot. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there was a technical improvement with the lighting and overall production. This is still cripplingly awful, but yeah, Need for Speed. Eh. But again, it's very funny because Need for Speed. The origination of that saying comes from Top Gun. And the guy's like, I got a need for speed, and like every car movie's glommed onto that. Like, yeah, but they were talking about fucking fighter jets, so it's just silly to me.
Has there been like a plane racing movie besides the movie Planes? Two or one?
I don't know. I'm surprised. They always had this dumb element like that movie Stealth, where it's like we're fighter pilots, but AI is going to be better, or there's some like weird, like, oh no, the Russians are here. Like there's always some weird, like it's not just a bunch of people racing aircraft, which would be fun. I'm sure there's
Maybe
one.
It's just that
I'm
it
not
takes
aware
too
of it.
long or something. I don't know.
Hard to film correctly, it's like this Top Gun that's about to come out was insane. Like they really filmed that shit, and that's another one with Tom Cruise where it's like, yeah, the guy's crazy, but Jesus, he knows how to make a movie. Like that's going to be incredible on IMAX if we ever get to see it.
We'll see.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah. That's going to wrap up our review of Need for Speed. And we're going to go into the arcade next. So as we may have alluded to earlier, we don't have a strong connection to this particular franchise.
It's
but
weird.
It doesn't seem all that different than most other racing games.
No, like
So I'm going to talk about Pod Racer from the Super Nintendo.
Dude, the Pod Racer for N64, and I bought that on the Switch this year. I still think that's a very competent racing game. I have a lot of fun with that. No, it's funny because I've always been parallel to this franchise. There's Need for Speed and then Burnout, Need for Speed, Hot Pursuit, and then the franchise I went with was Driver, which is very similar.
Okay.
That one was like, I think your character gets out of prison and you're doing a lot of weird illicit things, but it's all about outrunning the cops. And Driver was really cool. One I got into that I wish they would do another one was Stuntman on the PS2. Did you remember that one?
I remember vaguely.
It was cool because it was ridiculous, and a lot of people at the time really poo-pooed it because of the difficulty curve on it. But you start off like, all right, you've got to swerve into this parking spot, and you got to hit your mark. The crane's going to be here, and action. Like stuff like that would happen. And then those are just little cheap indie movies you're working on, and then it ends up with you driving like through a Bond movie sequence, and there's missiles flying at you. And but it was not so much about being a racing game. It was the technicality of like, all right, I got to hit my mark in 12 seconds. I got to park here in 4. This guy's going to fire a machine gun, so I have to like swerve so it looks cool. And like that aspect of it was really entertaining to me.
I think I played Burnout a fair amount. I think that was like the racing game I got into, and I think it was just because it was the one I had for some reason.
Burnout was great though. That was a very arcadey like.
Yeah, and
there's something about that really worked for me.
I could be thinking of the wrong game, but I feel like there was an element to Burnout where you would be like on a single street and you'd have your car, and the idea is that you race and try and do as big an explosion as possible, like in a certain amount of time. Like you hit
So
like
that was like a
uh
side quest.
yeah.
I forget what they called it, but Burnout 3 had the best version of that because it was literally like, all right, go down this hill and hit that school bus and cause like $1 million in damage. And
Hmm.
you'd have to get everything to flip in slow motion, but you could time it so like your car had to like a bomb in it. So like you'd be flipping, but you could explode one more time and do even more
Yeah, yeah,
damage.
yeah.
That was really addicting, man. That was almost like a puzzle game. I wish they would just put that on the iPhone. I would play it.
Oh man, yeah. That part, I don't know what it's it is like it's similar to like that Grand Theft Auto thing, but like you get to do that, but there's no consequences because it's just this tiny little area. The cops aren't
Yeah.
coming. You don't have any other plot or anything to deal with.
This year, just doing
Um,
this little mini game essentially. Or,
yeah,
and, it's funny. That's something I wanted to bring up in our review was like, this was such a faithful translation of Need for Speed. It's jarring because it's like if they did a movie based on Grand Theft Auto and you're following your protagonist who's this hero who just saved a baby and then he beats a hooker to death for her money and hearts. Like it's
yeah.
just like whoa,
What is going on?
what is happening in this film?
Although that
Uh,
is kind of not exactly, but kind of the premise of, I want to say, New Guy or Free Guy,
oh
something like
yeah,
that,
yeah,
with
yeah,
that
yeah,
Ryan Reynolds movie that will come out at some point, about
yeah.
like what it's like to be basically like
An NPC in
an
that world.
NPC in that world, where like people are just doing random shit all the time, and you work at a bank and the bank gets robbed every other hour or something.
That looks so good, and he's so fun to watch. But part of me is like, is this just a live action Lego movie? Like, it seems
Yes.
so similar to that, which I guess I'm not opposed to. But yeah, it's so funny my relationship with driving games. Like, the more intricate it is,
Hmm.
the more into it I am. But the rules have to be simple. Like, I just want the cockpit and the steering
Did you
wheel.
have so did you do it? Did you ever play a game with like the full steering wheel rig?
Yeah,
Have you?
but
Okay.
but but that's the asterisk. I need it to be simple rules. It can't drive like a real car because then I'm like, I'm not having fun. I'm like, ah. But if I can have the steering wheel set up, like, 'cause I've done that. There was
So you want a
when I,
steering wheel, no clutch, basically. Like,
well, I'll take the clutch too, but it's got to be
okay.
like, hey, it's silly. Like it can't. It just has to be fast and colorful, and I want to swerve in and out of traffic. But if
Yeah.
like I'm in third too long and the car like sputters, then like that's not fun to me anymore. I want it to be unrealistic physics, but with the most accurate. When I used to
So
work the
like when
auto
it comes down
show,
to like you have to know a lot about transmissions in order for this
yeah,
to work, you're like, no
none of that
thanks.
for me. I just want it to be this. When I worked the auto show, they had these like hovering chairs, and you had three like 60-inch monitors, and that was fun. And that was obviously trying to be like a real car, but I felt like I had a lot of fun. Thankfully, it was automatic, but I was
Hmm.
just like I was tearing ass around these hills, and that was a good time. So like that was like, give me that at home. There's a
Hmm.
good I don't know the rules of it, but the Dirt franchise, I think it's called Project Dirt. There's a VR
I have a
game
vaguely
that
remember.
you'd
Yeah.
play, and for some reason, a British guy sits next to you with a clipboard and goes left, right, right, left. I don't understand what's happening with that, but that in VR was really cool. So I did that with just a basic steering wheel, and you've got the VR sense of like the rain hitting the windshield. It was like, holy shit, this is great. But I think I failed every mission in that. Like I never made, I never finished the laps. It was always like, right, you need to start again. I'm like, oh, okay. But I just had the like fun doing that. So yeah, so it's fun. I enjoy them, but I'm obviously terrible at them. The Forza series, I think, is the most like that's made for a controller. Like they make steering wheel stuff for the Xbox Forza series, but it's so well tuned to the controller and the analog
Mhm.
pressure of like braking and accelerating that it feels really good with an Xbox controller. So I'll just drive around Scotland and just like, oh, it's be nice to have this $4 million Italian supercar. I'll play Spotify while I do this. Oh, time to go to work, and that's
There
it.
you go.
It's
You
accomplished
have
what
a
I needed it to do.
this very interesting relationship to these types of games where you just like use them to just drive normally or like it's just like,
Pretty
yeah,
much.
I'm going to play a flight simulator. I'm just going to do a accurate representation of the flight from
I,
Tokyo to San Diego. Here we
oh,
go.
I wasn't that far, but I flew to Chicago in real time just because I could. It's so weird. Like, what am
Oh
I
goodness.
doing?
Here we go. Real time. Yep. This is a good use of my time. No, but if it's if it's
Have some
relaxing,
peanuts.
who gives a shit?
Yeah,
I
it did what it set out to do.
so like I said, I have very little relationship to like more realistic racing games. I've played. They're probably never going to make a Mario Kart game, right? So this is the time to talk about it.
I would hope they do another one. The
You want them to
latest one
do
for
a
the Switch is
specifically Super Mario Kart, like the Mario Kart racing game or
yeah, I think
racing
so.
movie?
Oh, a movie.
Yeah,
Ooh,
not a
I don't
video
know.
game.
Oh no. So yeah, it's
Although
like I hope they do
now
another
that we're
Mario Kart
talking
game.
about it, that might be great. Like,
That would be pretty cool. It would give it a plot that's not beaten to death like Save the Princess. Like
yeah, that's
what
true.
if, they're just all racing for pink slips? That'd be really entertaining.
I like the
Shoot it
idea
for
that
IMAX.
it's like Mario Grease. Like they're like all
Yeah.
go to the same weird high school and they're all like racing for their weird cars.
Yeah. What if you got American Graffiti, but it's Mario Kart?
There it
Boom.
is. A Mario graffiti, whatever.
Right. Yeah.
It's stupid. I'm
I'll
sorry.
allow it.
I'm sorry, audience. But then the other only strong memory I have with even a car like game is, do you know that arcade game Lucky and Wild?
Yeah.
Which was like, so the entire thing was you're in a car, one person drive, like it's a two-player game theoretically. You have a realistic like gun and a car, and
Yeah.
one person can drive and shoot and the other person can just shoot, and you're just supposed to like shoot like barrels that are being thrown at you and like kill guys. You're
Oh
just in a
yeah.
perpetual car chase, and I think it was supposed to be like Tango and Cash,
Oh, I
or
can
at
see
least that's
that.
where the name came from, and that's it.
Right.
And it was just like, it was just like a coring
Was
like
that
hog
early
basically.
'90s?
Must have been. Yeah.
There's some
I
fun
played it
ones from
at
that
Aladdin's
time.
Castle at the Brainium
Okay,
Mall.
let's say Aladdin's Castle had some good ones. I used to play Outrun a lot. Um, was it? What was the game The Rock was going to do an adaptation of, and it ended up getting made, but I don't think without The Rock, maybe it didn't. It was like Spy Driver or
I have no idea.
damn. It's an older game, but basically a semi truck would pull up and you drive out of it, and you'd finish a
Is it
mission
Spy
or a
Hunter?
round. Spy Hunter, thank you. Did they make that into a movie? Do we have to watch that at some point?
I
For
haven't
the
heard of it.
longest time, they wanted The Rock to be in that, and
As
I
the
just thought that
car, I
was so weird.
assume.
I guess so. Yes, I can see Mark Wahlberg's the driver, and he's the car. I can see that.
Uh,
Uh,
it says it's a TV series,
oh yeah.
but I don't think it's based on the game because it's set in 1930. So
Oh
it's
yeah,
probably
it's
not the
different.
same thing. I think there can be two things called Spy Hunter, I guess.
I guess so.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay.
video games. The racing's been fun, and Pod Racer I do legitimately enjoy. I remember playing that ironically when it came out on the N64 and going, "Oh my god, this is kind of fun," and like
That
really
Pod
getting
Racer
hooked to
game
it.
that Pod Racer game is the only good thing to come out of the Phantom Menace.
Absolutely, yeah. There was something about for an N64 game, the sense of speed. Like your character's going like 600 miles per hour, and you're going through loops. And you're like, "Yep, I can feel that." Like it really felt like you're going fast. And I got really into like finishing a race and getting scruples or whatever the hell money is in that world, and buying new engines and upgrading your pod, and like and really feeling the difference in the handling when you upgraded it. Like yeah, that I'd play another one of those if they wanted to do a random sequel.
Yeah, I mean they should. They should do all kind like.
I think the
I mean, why
remake
not?
or that the re-release rather they call it HD and it's a little shinier, but it definitely looks like an N64 game still. I think it did good. It came out on the PS4, Switch,
Oh
something
yeah,
else. Yeah, it's like $10, man. If you want to revisit it, it
I
held
might.
up to me. I play it on the Switch whenever I can.
Okay, so I think we have talked this as much as we can. So we're going to move on to our next segment. We're going to, try and circle back to this movie and think about some ways it could have been better in the room for improvement.
Yeah, I mean we covered that a little. Oh, I didn't do
We
that.
did
I'll
we
give that a
did
beat.
cover it a little bit. You're right.
Yeah,
But I just it's such a strong point that I think you started with of switching those roles, switching Dominic
So
Cooper and Aaron Paul would
if
be
we
a lot
switched
better.
them, that would have done 50% of the work. And I
Yeah.
think you set it in the 70s and you switch the actors around, and that's it. You've got like a movie that works. I don't have
Hmm.
to suspend my sense of reality as much because
I
they didn't have satellites tracking them. Um,
but I would
or it
also
could have been
say
the
it's just
80s,
like
but
if they toned down how obvious it was.
yeah,
Like you either set it in a country with some maybe less policing or less stricter laws, or maybe
something. The
that
rich guy owns
is,
an island and they have to
yeah,
race
something
on
like
that.
that, or like where it's all underground racing. Maybe that's too much Fast and the Furious, I don't know. But like it just strains my ability to enjoy it when they are like out in literal Detroit, like
Yeah.
tearing up the place, and it's just like there is no way you get away with this. Like
Yeah, I'd
you're
say
in
maybe I'm
Detroit.
just too
Like, are
much of
you
a
kidding
dad, but
me?
I'm like, what
Like,
are you guys doing? You're gonna hurt somebody.
yeah,
Stop
like
it. Like I don't I don't like seeing people get into like that woman yelling. I want to go back and watch that scene because it's really like, oh my god, my collarbone. Like, and the character's like, yeah, yeah, screw her. Like,
but
that's not entertaining to me. Like, that was really weird and sociopathic a little bit.
there's also like I don't get a strong, there needs to be a more clearly defined reason why things are happening and why people are helping you. Like
Yeah,
I was watching it and I was just like, so that guy who bought that car for $2 million just gave it to Aaron Paul,
and
and then Aaron Paul destroyed it and
what
it's
is
fine.
hey man, I sold you that car. Remember? Like, oh yeah, you raced it. Showed me it went really fast. What can I do for you? I just got out of prison and I need it. You son of a
What'd you get?
bitch. All
What
right,
were
go
you in
ahead.
prison for? Hopefully not destroying cars.
Yeah,
Uh,
was it Grand Theft Auto and homicide? Don't worry about that. You ever see Breaking Bad? Give me the car. Oh,
yeah.
okay. And I get it because that's Imogen's supposed to be like the uh, not babysitter, but she's there in charge to make sure the car's taken care of. But
Sure. Well,
she
she's
falls in love with the
fired.
guy, and part of it getting wrecked.
Yeah.
Like so that's odd to me. It's always like, yeah, okay, our guy won, but there's I'm surprised that he only went to prison for a couple of months after all of that, and
Yeah.
B, like just the litigation and getting sued and owing the money on that car. Like it starts off with this plot of like, guys, I don't know how we're going to pay rent next month. Let's take our $8 million of equipment and restore this car. The car shows up with no body, but they have the revenue to get that fixed somehow. Like there's just little things where I'm like, I'm trying, movie, I'm trying, but you got to meet me halfway.
You're making it
Ooh,
hard.
yeah,
And I know maybe this feels nitpicky, but it's because like I have no like emotional connection at all to anything. So it's just I'm just constantly scanning for like other
yeah,
ways that it doesn't make any sense, Um so I don't know.
yeah. That was
It's
weird,
really
but that's
weird.
all I've got really. I think it was obviously I thought it was directed competently, and I thought the technical know-how was there. So that's not something I would change, but just the plot and the script doesn't make sense in a modern world.
Yeah.
So that's why I need it set back 30 years, and I need the cast to kind of swap because I think Aaron Paul would have been a really good villain,
Hmm.
and I would have liked to have seen that version of it.
Can you think of anything else like we kind of covered? I think for the actors being in the roles that they were cast in, they did as good a job as they could. I
Sure.
can't think like nothing. Nobody was like bad. It was just like it's so
No, the only
obvious that
part
you
that
would
I
be
was like,
better in something else.
Rami Malek just committing several, sex crimes, leaving his job was this odd. I'm gonna forcefully kiss this girl naked. Oh my God, that we would have been live from the Quicken Loans building. We would have like that guy would be in jail. We would like my station would not have let that story go. Um, so that's just weird. But yeah, I mean, everyone did. Kid Cudi's character could have been grating or very Jar Jar Binks in a way, and he was not. He was charming. It's like your role in this doesn't make any sense to me legally, but damn, you're great. So that worked.
It's very weird.
Yeah, it's a very strange movie.
Okay. So we did that. That's great. um, yeah, yeah. It's weird. Like I didn't enjoy it, but there aren't there isn't a ton I would change, you know? Like usually there's like a lot of like obvious things, but it's really just
Oh,
like
same. Like I'm like,
it's
let's get
just
a
like the
whole
only
nother
thing I would
actor, lose the director. Yeah, but
yeah, I
I
think
just
it
want to
was
see a different
fine.
version of this.
The only thing I'd change is just don't make this movie.
Yeah.
There's no point, you know?
I was gonna say like the movie just makes me want to watch Bullet, but if you're not in the car movies, I don't think you'd like that one either.
I don't
But
know.
Bullet's
I might
great. Like
like I said, I might need like something to connect to. And I think, you know,
yeah,
I might be able to connect to like Steve McQueen being like a cool guy and like
yeah.
watching him do
That one's
stuff.
great because it's so illegally shot. That's kind of the real world version of my complaint about this. Because maybe that one had a little more creative. That or French Connection had no permits, and the director was a maniac. So yeah, you're just gonna all right. There's no cops. Just drive really fast down this, like, and they just so their continuity is all over the place because the car will get dinged in the next shot. It's not, shit like that. But I mean, it's the '70s. What do you want?
Yeah.
But the movie
They
is
had
just
no
such an
value for human
example of
life.
no. Directors back then were so cutthroat. Just I mean, the first like 2 or 3 minutes of Dog Day Afternoon is great to me because they're just filming people on the streets. It almost looks like B-roll, and all of a sudden you see Pacino, and it's like, oh, the movie started. Like I thought this was all stock footage. This is great.
um it's I'm trying to think of a movie that was it, this isn't a real movie, but I was watching the Riff Tracks Birdemic, and just so much footage of cars driving places in that fucking
Yeah,
movie. Like, I don't know. It just made me think of just like that
pulled from
movie is
so many random
90%
sources.
B-roll. It's like
Yeah,
just
oh, totally.
movie is again charitable. Okay. So I think we've talked this movie to death. I think we can put it in the ground. I think we can safely say we have devoted more intellectual resources to Need for Speed than anyone
Anyone
up until
ever,
this point. I think if
ever.
we went to Aaron Paul and we asked him what his thoughts were on Need for Speed, he would demand to know what movie we were talking about and
Yeah,
why we were talking to him.
yeah.
I'm
The
sure he's
game,
forgotten.
what
Huh?
movie,
No,
bitch?
I was in a
Uh,
movie. Um, I don't like. I know that Aaron Paul is definitely a very savvy and smart man based on like the producing he's done, but he always
yeah.
does come across as just like, "What? I'm like an actor? What?
What?
No, I was in a
Those
movie? Pfft,
there's
that's
film in those
crazy."
cameras? Well, I guess there wouldn't be, but ah.
Anyway, okay. So we're gonna move on. We're gonna go to our chill out zone, place to talk about all the other things we've been doing. Gonna go to the
Yeah.
lobby.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
So, hello, audience, and welcome to the time that Ron and I just kind of chat with each other about other stuff we've been doing, and maybe you'll find it interesting, or maybe you won't. I want to start with an apology, though, to you because there's a lot of things I need to think about when we're recording these, and I forget one of them pretty consistently. And there are different ones each time. So this time I forgot to switch over to gallery view until about halfway through.
Oh
So
yeah.
maybe a little bit more than halfway through. So that's going to be very annoying to watch. I'm
You
sorry,
know what's
everybody.
funny? I wish I brought it up because I was naively thinking that I could set it to gallery view on my phone. I almost asked you if I could do that. I was like, oh wait, no, with the phone you just get this. Um, but if I brought that up, maybe you would have remembered. But hey,
Well,
you know
you
what?
know,
It's okay.
this is where we find ourselves. I'm just not used to like I know we've done a fair amount of them, but like just thinking about the video aspect, I just
Sure.
forget. I know this is very interesting to people to say like, "Oh, you've been doing this for a year and you're still fucking it up." Like, yeah. Yeah, I am.
Well,
Okay.
ironically, the more steady we've gotten with, I've digressed because I used to have my aperture key light and I'd have like practical lights, and now I'm just like I got a light above my phone. Yeah, no one wants to see me.
It's fine.
Yeah, we're doing good. But
Um
yeah, what you been up to, despite regretting that?
what have I been up to? Um so I've been like I mentioned a little bit, I've been watching a lot of riff tracks. because those are
So
fun.
good.
Um, I
It's like a
you
big
can
comfy
get
blanket.
like the ones they do for modern movies, like on their app. And the
Yeah.
only problem is like if you're trying to watch the movie and and sync up the dialogue through your phone, which is what I try and do, and then put it on my computer, or not my computer, my TV. Um,
Hmm.
the mixing's off, so like the
Uh,
movie like puts like way higher mix in like their music and stuff. So like when they're you can't hear them half the time. So
oh,
you
that's lame.
gotta you gotta be aware of that and either use a separate thing or just use their older movies that they have the rights to, so they can
Yeah,
just
the
put their
stuff
audio
they have the
track on
rights
it.
to are mixed so good, and I've
Yeah.
had luck with like just downloading versions that people have like mixed themselves. Like the Battlefield Earth, I have that
Mm.
way in the room, but none of the more recent stuff I've gotten. I need to go out and buy a bunch of them because I like their stuff quite a bit.
Something I discovered is you can't rent the room on Amazon. Like, I don't
Oh,
know where
weird.
it is. Like, I know that's insane because it's a stupid movie that shouldn't be available anywhere. But like,
Yeah,
just that it's such like a weird cultural thing at this point,
yeah, and you
it's
can't really
crazy
buy
that
it.
you can't, do that.
I keep hearing talks of like it'd be funny. They need to do like a Criterion release and do it in 4K with like incredible box art, but it's just the room. Oh my god, I'd buy that in a heartbeat. Oh, what a ridiculous movie! It's so funny because like that's another one where I get kind of geek out technically because he didn't know what he was doing. He literally duct taped a film camera and a digital camera together, and the stuff he shot on film. I mean, thankfully he hired people who knew what they were doing, but like it's well lit. Well, it's exposed correctly and it's sharp and like it's like oh every once in a while you just pause it like if you didn't know better you would think this was a movie but it's not.
If you look at, just a few seconds each time.
Yeah, and you
Um,
men in black yourself so you don't know the context of it.
so I've been doing that. Another fun thing I took up just because what else are you gonna do? Is I got like a lockpick
Mm.
training kit.
Oh
So
wow,
I've been learning how to do that. Um, I can do it at least on the training locks now. Um, but I've
is
never
it
tried a real
like
lock yet.
too hairpin, like is it more complicated tool than that or like how does
I mean,
what's
they'll
all
give you
involved?
they give you a set of picks and rakes.
Okay.
Usually you don't need more than like one pick, like one. Like they give you several kinds, but usually you just get. I can't remember what it's called right now. I haven't memorized the names now. But the training ones come like the locks are clear, so
Okay.
um you can see the pins in it and like where
Oh, that's
they are.
interesting, so you can actually see
So
what you're doing.
yeah, so you can see if it's been like overpicked or whatever. Um, and I don't know. It's interesting. The For anybody who's interested in it, I'll say like there's 2 points. There's the pick and then there's the tension wrench. Um, and so the wrench is supposed to put pressure internally, and so that the pins will um basically shear so that they like spin open. Um, it's a lot less pressure than you think it is. That's it.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's like
This
the
whole time
lightest
you're
touch.
describing that, I'm interested in it, but I can almost I'm reading Dane's mind. I can see Dane pushing in on me, and it's just the visual from Skyrim when you're trying to lockpick and then it breaking. Yeah, that's the
It's
only
pretty
context I
similar.
have of that. I'm like, okay, I know lockpicking through Skyrim. I'm sure it's a little more advanced than that, but
No,
that's cool.
not
That'd be
really.
fun.
No,
Interesting.
that's so my next challenge is to try it on like a non-clear lock and see if I can do it.
Sure.
But
I
that's
need
all I've
that
been
for
doing.
my film. I think I've talked about it out here before, but I got really when the pandemic started. I busted out my Mamiya and was taking a lot of 120 film, and it's a wonderful camera. And I'm not adventurous enough to develop color film at home, but I got a lot of black and white stuff. But you have to like put it in a blackout bag or be in the dark and like fumble with it. And I wish I could have a blackout bag that was see through, which that doesn't work. But like it's
Did you
so
have to
hard.
make
So
like a
I
dark room or something if you don't have that or?
well, I've got some red bulbs. I can make a dark room setup in my bathroom. I've just been
Mhm.
lazy about it. But I was just trying to like get the maneuvering down, and I just can't. So I've got like just a roll of film I accidentally exposed. That's been my
Hmm.
kind of like training thing, and I can get it looking at it, but the second I take my eyes off, I can't do it. Like, it's
So,
just so pathetic.
this is something we've talked about, but and we can cut this out if you don't want to bring it up again. But I wonder if it's like because you can't visualize
No,
inside the
I think that's
bag.
part of it because everyone's like, "All right, just picture where that." And as soon as you say picture, you've lost me. But I can't. There's these ball bearings you can feel for, but you
Hmm.
have to like visualize the clicks. I forget now because it's been months of me just avoiding it. But there's something where you do have to kind of visualize where it is and start to pull and
Can
expand it around the chamber. And I'm
yeah.
thinking because I can't really see it in my head, I can't get that far. So I just get frustrated every time I try. That's a good point. No, I think that's got a lot to do with it.
Do you
Because
know
I'm
that?
really at this point where I'm like, all right, I just want someone to
Do,
develop it for
yeah.
me.
Do you know that? Like, remember in Splinter Cell they had that little night vision scope camera thing?
Yes.
Like, I don't know what kind of camera that is now. Fiber optic, right?
Yeah.
Fiber
Oh, yeah.
optic
Yeah.
camera. Like, what if you got one of those like night
Oh,
vision ones and put it in the bag
I'm crazy
and
enough
then
to
put a
try that.
monitor out so you could see and then do it that way? That
I
wouldn't
wouldn't
be
mind trying
complicated
that.
at all, right?
No. Well, this makes me laugh because I find the color film I've taken too complicated. But this local lab will do it for a really good price and like send me a Dropbox link to the digital scans. It's
Hmm.
great, but they won't do black and white film. So
Okay.
it's like the stuff that I have like ample amount of that I can easily develop myself once I get it to that far. I should just sacrifice a roll and just try my best and see how bad it turns out. Because if it gets light leaks,
Where
I'll just say it's a Instagram filter.
There you
I don't
go.
know.
Where do
Yeah.
you get film? They still sell film?
Amazon, they still make it.
Okay.
It's great, especially
Who's
120.
making it?
Kodak, a company who bought Kodak, maybe.
Huh.
Most of what I have is Kodak, but there's some other brands out too. They're reasonably priced too. I mean, I got a 5 roll set for like $40.
Okay.
So last time I was buying 35, it wasn't much more than that. So
Hmm.
shockingly, it's still made. The hard part is there'll be like Super 8 challenges, and every year I look at it because you're supposed to get a Super 8 camera and edit you know, in camera. Like you're not going to do anything in
Okay.
post. So you got to
Yeah.
make your movie with the exposure, and then you send the roll out to them. I'm like, I don't know where to get that. I'm sure I can probably get on Amazon as well, but that rabbit hole I haven't explored. But I was shocked. Like I got a really good deal. This camera's like $600-700, and the lenses I have are like 600-500 a piece. And this guy sold the whole bundle on eBay for like $400, and
Wow.
I was expecting a nightmare, and it came in like beautiful condition. So
He
like,
was What you
cool, I'll
saw
take it.
was a broken man who's just like, I can't
Probably, I do feel bad.
nobody
Yeah, I'm like,
cares
oh,
anymore. I just want this out
yeah.
of my
My
house.
dream is I can't develop this film in this blackout bag. I'll sell it to some schmuck. Meanwhile, I'm like, oh no, same problem.
um,
But
that's really fun. Have you been playing any games at all? Anything
so
new?
I finally got this. I got in this whole. I don't know if I went into it on a podcast yet, but I got into this whole miscommunication with a guy who was very helpful in that he wanted to help me get an Xbox because I put the feelers out a while ago. I was trying to get one of the new ones. Well, the X specifically, and he just bought a random Xbox and sent it to me. The S. I was like, all right, that'll be $500. Like he overcharged me like $200 for a system I didn't need. Uh, but then it happened to work out because I found one and I sold the S to a friend who was looking for. He just wanted the S because he doesn't have a 4K TV. So now I
Mhm.
have I have 3 Xboxes sitting on my TV stand right now. One's in the box because he's coming Monday to pick it up and
Okay.
then give me money for it. But so it's just funny how much of a pain in the ass that was, how much rigmarole was involved to boot up a system that's identical to the one I've just been playing. Like it's just slightly faster and it's a little sharper. That's all I'm noticing. So I'm just sitting there kind of mad at myself, like, what am I doing with my life? These damn video games.
Uh,
But I'm still just hopelessly addicted to Sea of Thieves, and that's been
yeah.
great on there. Like it runs at 60 frames now instead of 30. It's really just pops and it boots right up. Like it used to be this whole time limit. Like I would talk to my buddies and they'd be on the island waiting for me, and I could like hit start on the game, go downstairs and buy a drink in the store, pay for it, come back up, and I would just be joining the island. This was that long of a load time, and now it's like 12 seconds or something.
Wow.
So like that's what you're paying for is the processor improvements and whatnot. But so yeah, that's been
Makes sense.
fun. Uh, working on a couple music videos for some guys in Lansing, and I'm really happy with how that turned out. It's still weird and awkward trying to do anything with masks on and social distancing and stuff,
Mhm.
but I felt like we were safe with it, and that went well. But it just makes me want to start doing more movies. We've talked about our side production aspect of this, doing some TV shows and skits and whatnot. And it's like, yes, as soon as it's safe,
Anytime. Yep.
like,
Whew, man, it is rough because yeah, we'll hopefully be able to get everybody vaccinated. Maybe by the end of summer.
hopefully.
It's
I'm
just
hoping by May or June I get it, but it's just odd. I keep hearing conflicting things. Like Detroit was set to do so many a day, and they opened it up to anyone over 65, but we also don't have the doses we were expecting, and like
mhm.
there's millions that aren't accounted for or expired or something. It's just like as soon as I'm eligible and able to get it, Amanda got it because she's a teacher,
Oh, that's
so
good.
that's awesome. And then her grandmother got it, and her parents got it, but so I'm just waiting, and they'll have a dose out for children, I think, by fall,
Hmm.
which I'm a little just cautious of, but I'm also fully believing in the science because I'm not an asshole, and I'm seeing what's going on, and so I know it'll be safe for my daughter when it's ready. But yeah, I just once everyone's vaccinated or starts taking this seriously, we just go back to work because I've never been more creatively inspired to do stuff, but so exhausted and beaten down at the I like just the fact that you can't. Yeah, I'm just doing way too much stuff at work right now, and it's just all depressing, and it's just like "Ugh, I want to do fun shit. Like rewatching The Farm the other day, man. When we shared that in that group chat, I was like, "Fuck, this
It's
turned
not
out
bad.
way better than I expected it to." I really enjoyed that little movie, and
Yeah.
it's helped get me work on stuff because people have seen it and said, "Hey, do that for us." And like, it's just neat. So I want to get back to doing that really bad. But until then, I'll just be a virtual pirate every Monday, and
That works too.
yeah,
Those
that'll
are
work.
good times.
Yeah, I've been trying to get Flight Simulator going again, but my computer is struggling. Ever since they've done every update they've done,
Hmm.
it's the performance has gotten worse. Like
Can
I
you?
sat down
Can
to
you?
record a video for us, and it's no bueno. Like if I try to capture the screen, it
Uh-huh.
goes to shit. Like it's very playable, and then when I start recording through like OBS, it just like frame rate drops to like 12 frames a second. I don't know what's going on with it.
Can you do it from your new Xbox, like to Twitch or something?
Uh, so yes, but it's not released yet, which is dumb. It's only
Mm.
PC, but it's supposed to be on the Xbox. Like 6 months ago, they said it was gonna be a launch title, but
That
it's not
seems
there
really,
now.
yeah, what the fuck is going on with these fucking games where
Yeah,
you're the guys
you
who
knew
are
you had a
making it.
release date.
This isn't a
Yeah,
third party thing.
it
It's
wasn't
all your
surprise.
shit. How are you
Yeah,
unable to coordinate this fuck?
I'll
You
tell
are
you, as an
like
owner of both, because I'm a lunatic, they're both premature. Like this shit should
mhm.
not have come out until fall of 2021. A bunch of vaccinated people could have been running to the stores and going crazy, and there could have been games ready to go. But nothing's ready. I'm playing a pirate game I've been playing that's been out since 2018. There's nothing else new,
Yeah,
So
it
it's
does.
that's
Yeah, it
frustrating.
does feel like they just did it because they thought they were supposed to. Like,
Yeah,
what was it? It was like the Xbox 360 was the console for like 10 years, right?
yeah.
Something crazy. Really long like cycle.
Like
And
it was such a
that
long
was
cycle, and
fine.
when the one came out, they were like, "Why are you doing this? We don't need this yet." And people
And I
begrudgingly got
was
on
never
board,
I
but
never saw the reason I didn't get an Xbox One is like I never saw anything that was so great that it meant that I shouldn't just play the old Xbox 360 games I never
yeah,
played.
the
Like
360
it
was
just
really
looked
like a
about the same.
revelation. I was like, oh, these like, I'm sure it doesn't age right, but that King Kong game that Peter
Mhm.
Jackson helped supervise, like, looked legit. That was one of the launch games. I was like, holy shit, we need this new Xbox because that looks amazing.
And
But
but like now that they've got like the whatever I can't even remember what they're fucking calling their stupid Xbox now. The newest
oh,
one.
series,
Like it just seems like it is like a huge jump performance wise and they've done nothing to justify
yeah,
why you should buy it except you're a
one
person who wants to have the newest thing. It's
one
just for
game,
early
yeah,
adopters.
that's all it is. It's for early adopters, 100%. Like,
And
there's
it's just like, well,
one
that's
game that,
dumb. Like,
yeah, well, that's not possible on the older Xboxes. That just came out this past Friday. Like that, But I
I
am
mean,
excited to try
theoretically,
it.
that Cyberpunk whatever was supposed to be, but they fucked
Yeah,
that up so bad that
they fucked
nobody
that up
can
so
play it.
bad. Nobody can play it, and the versions made specifically for this Xbox won't be out like till this fall. Like you can play
So
it,
yeah, you
but
should have just
you're
waited.
emulating the older Xbox. They 100% should have waited. It's
Yeah,
so silly.
they really Dreamcasted up this launch, I guess.
They
But,
did. No, that's very accurate. That's exactly what happened. It was this obligation, and there's a cynicism and a dark nature to it of like, well, people are home and they're spending money. We got to put these
mhm.
systems out, and they weren't ready for it. As soon as they lost Halo, I would not have been mad at Microsoft and just said, all right, fuck it, scrap everything. We're going to come out in the spring.
Yeah.
That would have made more sense. But
Like I
they
feel like
stuck to it.
anybody like should have been somebody in the meeting, and maybe there was. They were just shot down. It's just like, hey, we got a new system, yeah, and we don't have Halo. Don't release it. That's
Yeah,
stupid. That's the dumb.
we're going to launch with
Like it's
no
the
games.
only reason anybody would buy this.
Yeah. It's the only thing that would have helped them compete against Sony. I mean, I'm not a fanboy to any of them. I'm just looking at the writing at the wall. And the PlayStation 5, when we do stories at work, is the only console mentioned. Like
Mhm.
our entertainment and electronics side of the business forgets there's a new Xbox. They don't ever bring it up. It's all about the PS5 and whether or not you can get one. And
Yeah.
even that was so damn lackluster. There's like 3 games on that I played.
I do like
So
that. Like it's basically just the fact that there's a new Spider-Man game is just like water in a desert. It's just an oasis
yeah.
of people like,
Oh,
oh,
these
thank God there's
crackers are
this.
delicious.
There's this at least. Like this is like, isn't it basically the last Spider-Man game except you can like shoot electricity or something?
Yes,
It's like
but
no,
I'm
it's
starving and
completely different.
dehydrated.
Oh my God, it's the best thing.
Yeah.
Okay, what I mean, it just
Oh
feels
god.
like it's basically like every other Spider-Man game. No, it's the best thing in the world. Okay. Well, we've
All
talked
right. Well,
enough.
you
This
enjoy
is done.
that.
Anyway, everybody, we want to thank you for listening for this amount of time. I know I enjoy doing it, so I'll do it forever, basically, or for another month. We'll see what happens. Uh,
Spoilers.
so thanks again for listening. You can rate, review, subscribe on your favorite podcast app. We are on Spotify. We are on iTunes. We are on Google Podcast. I guess it's Apple Podcasts now. Sorry, you can tell that I grew up in the 90s because it's going to be perpetually iTunes.
Yeah, forever.
And we're on basically all the other ones because that's what you have to do. So if you liked us, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Facebook. Thank you again, and we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.
And Nicolas Cage, we trust.
There it is.
This is a technical difficulties production.